Differentiation of simple functions. Whenever we're differentiating, we have to make sure the y is in the form of x to the power of n, and therefore we can apply dy dx equals n x to the power n minus 1. This function has three terms: first term, second term, and third term. We have to differentiate term by term. So dy dx for the first term is 4 times 3, that would be 12. Then we go x, 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. So that's the first derivative for the first term. For the second term, plus 2 times 3, 6, then x to the power 2 minus 1, and that's just 1, minus the third term. The third term actually has x to the power 0. Any constant always have the variable to the power of 0. So x to the power of 0, 0 times 2, we just make that 0. And therefore, dy dx equals 12x squared plus 6x. For the second function, there are a few things we need to tidy up. We've got 4 terms here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second and the third, we need to make them look like that. So just to remember a few things. If you have cube root of x, that is also x to the power 1/3 in indices. That's the same thing. In fact, if you have square root of x, that will be x to the power 1/2. So there is 2 here. 2 is a default, and that's why you have the 2 there. But we don't write the 2 always. We just write root x. It's actually 2 root x. But most of the time, we just write root of x. Also, if I have 1 over x cube root of x, well, that will be in indices. We now know that cube root of x is x to the power 1/3, and 1 over that will make it x to the power minus 1/3. Also, if I have 1 over x squared, that will make it x to the power minus 2 in indices. Watch out for the relationship between negative power and positive power. It's always 1 over in this case. So that's what we got here. We just need to tidy these two up. So now we can write y equals 6x squared plus 4 x to the power minus 1/3 minus 2 x to the power minus 2 plus 1. Now we're going to differentiate this. Now the x has a power which is, in this case, n is minus 1/3, and n here is minus 2. If you have a constant, it also has a variable. The variables are x is the variable. It also has its own variable. It's x to the power of 0. As you know, anything to the power of 0 equals 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And that's why that's 1. Still, it's in that format. So we can differentiate it. Now to find dy dx. Now we can find dy dx. We have to do it term by term. To find dy dx for that, x squared, n is 2. Bring the 2 down. 2 times 6 is 12. X, then you got 2 minus 1, so to the power of 1, 12x. Plus, now 4 times minus 1/3. You have to bring n. N is minus 1/3, so you bring it down. then you get x. You get minus 1/3 minus 1. So you got minus 1/3 minus 1. Well, minus 1/3 minus 1, and then we've got minus, this is minus 2. Bring it down to multiply with minus 2. That would be plus 4. Then you get x to the power minus 2 minus 1. And then 0 down, that would just be plus 0. Because 0 times 1 is 0. The y, the x, will be equal to 12x. That's 4 times, so that would be minus 4 over, right, so this is minus 4 over 3 here. Because if I have minus 1/3 minus 1 over 1, if I multiply I want to make them the same denominator, multiply by 3, multiply by 3, so that would be minus 4 over 3. Right, so I got minus 4 over 3. Now, minus 4 over 3, so therefore I've got x to the power minus 4 over 3, and that can be written as 1 over x to the power 4 over 3, which we can translate that to 1 over, right, x to the power 4 to the power 1/3. And we know what that is when we write that. That is basically 1 over cube root x to the power 4. And therefore, I can then put, so there's 3 here already because 4 times 1/3, so that's minus 3. And then I have to do the 3 cube root x to the power 4, which is that one here. And that 3 is this one here. You see, it's a simple function, yet it can be challenging. That looks like quotient. It's advisable not to use quotient, but rather simplify it and do this. Again, that's quotient, but again, you can simplify it and do it this way. And so that would be plus 4. That one is x to the power minus 3, which will become in indices x to the power 3. Because you know from the law of indices, 1 over x to the power of 3 is basically x to the power minus 3 plus 0. And now we can tidy up and write it properly. We actually have finished it. So the y, the x, equals 12x minus 4 over 3 cube root of x to the power 4 plus 4 over x cubed. And that's the answer to that. And this is the answer to the first one.